today is self-esteem, meaning prophetic steps towards self-esteem. And you know, it's so difficult to talk about Sunnah without Quran. I find it really, really difficult because one is actually complementing another. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to give you the basic definition of self-esteem, and then I'm going to dive you into prophetic steps. And sometimes I'm going to back it up with Quran. Okay, so bear with me. All right. So self-esteem is known as well as a confidence. Confidence in your own worth and abilities. There are two different things. You see, abilities is something that you learn. There are skills that you learn through life. And sometimes there are teachable skills and sometimes there are survival skills. In terms of worth, it is your inner belief that you deserve respect, that you deserve love, that you are worthy of the best. And this is what we're going to discuss today, all right? Now, in terms of skills and abilities, if you want to conceptualize it from the perspective of prophetic steps, then there's absolutely no way, no other way but looking at his character. Because through life, Prophet ﷺ, he was learning new skills. I mean, he started with everything that, with the skill that every prophet had to learn, and that was being a shepherd. Now, what do you learn through being a shepherd? You're learning how to be patient, because each sheep has a different character, and they can be quite stubborn, or they can be quite, you know, free-spirited. So you becoming a leader through learning patience and through learning how to deal with those characters, and that is replicable. You can copy and paste when you're working with people as well. Not to compare us to a stock, but we all have different characters, right? So if you have ever found yourself in the position of, I don't know, you were playing some kind of a role in your job or in your family, and people were relying on you, this is really comparable. This is really comparable. That platform is comparable. So take a moment and write down roles in your life which you're playing or you played already, which made you a leader. People were relying on you, or they're still relying on you. I want you to make that note, okay? And then Prophet ﷺ went through different stages, like he was a merchant, then he was independent merchant, very successful one, so he was a business person, then he was a prophet, and then he was a warrior as well. He was a leader in a different sense, in a bigger spectrum of that. Of that word, he become a spiritual leader as well, and social revolutionary leader, a religious revolutionary leader as well. So take another moment and write down moments in your life when that's especially is applicable for reverts, right? Or for those of you who experience the sweetness or the straightforwardness in Islam, and that was different to your background, meaning your family were not practicing, or they even were not Muslims. So write down the moments when you were you were bringing revolution in your life, and people were reacting to it differently, and you probably had to go through rejection, but in your heart, just like Prophet ﷺ, you were connected with God, and that's what it mattered. I mean, you know your Lord, and that's all it matters. I want you to, in tune in your presence or in your past with that moment. Write it down. Okay, so these are your platforms where you were growing in skills, and your character, your adab, your akhlaq was changing, hopefully for the better, because you were learning how to be patient, you were learning how to let go, you were learning how to respect people who had less respect to you because of the, I don't know, let's call it being ignorant to the knowledge that came to you, or they've been on a different length wealth, so they couldn't necessarily connect with you, with the person who you were becoming. All right, now think about Prophet ﷺ escaping, fighting for his life, and they are in the cave with Abu Bakr. Okay, so Prophet ﷺ is in the cave with Abu Bakr. And what happens there? They are so close to lose their life. This is what Abu Bakr is thinking. I mean, he trusts Prophet ﷺ. He was like his ﷺ twin brother, right? He had yaqeen. It's not that. But the moment when you face death, you know, you start panicking. So what was the sakina through the advice and behavior and adab of the Prophet ﷺ that Abu Bakr was learning was, are you despairing? Are you doubting in men, in between whom there is God himself? All right. So that was one of the most significant lessons from Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, on how we should put our trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of our abilities to escape any difficulties. All right. So remember that, because that also helps you with what? With motivation. Do you remember the Battle of Tabuk? Do you remember the death of Khadija? Do you remember all those disappointments, all those difficulties in the Prophet ﷺ's life, right? SubhanAllah, his reaction, his sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his sallallahu alayhi wasallam ways to get out mentally and emotionally from oppression or disappointment or loss or grief, are the platforms for us to learn to grow in those abilities. There are inspirations. So I want you to write down right now, okay, which is your favorite, or which one is your favorite in terms of inspirations? Okay. Which moments in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ is your favorite, and what have you learned? What have you learned from it? Okay. So let's move on. Now, in terms of worthiness, it is completely different way of relating to Sunnah or to Quran and connecting with it.